Well, the Changemaker Show is a show that intends to showcase how young people are creating change in their lives, in their communities, and that of the country. Of course, you will agree with me that there are a lot of issues that really are hindering the development of young people. So this show will try to see how young people can be better molded to serve as agents of positive change.
This is a reality TV show that intends to bring survivors to talk about their life story. It could be my story.
It could be your story.
It could be our story. We talk about cross-cutting issues like health,
education,
entertainment,
and social development.
Be the change that you want to see in the world. Join the Changemaker Show every Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
Good evening and welcome to the news on GRTS. In the headlines tonight. On the second leg of his dialogue with the People Tour, President Jammeh reiterates his call for young people to be involved more actively in nation building. Trust Bank Gambia Limited delivers to the Vice President a $100,000 donation meant for the National Disaster Management Agency. Senegalese President Abdoulaye Wade appoints a new elections minister amidst calls by the country's opposition for the sacking of the interior minister who holds that responsibility. And Norway's Muslim community gripped by fear after last week's killer of 76 people who claims his action was to save Europe from Muslim influence. These stories and much more coming ahead in the news. I am Aisha Chidabo. We thank you for watching. President Jammeh has again called on young people to be responsible and contribute positively towards national development. The Gambian leader made the remarks at a meeting in Pirang and Block as he began the second leg of his dialogue with the People Tour. Thousands were at hand to welcome President Jammeh and entourage to show their support and solidarity. Kebadiba is with the presidential entourage and he now reports the Gambian leader also urged the people of Fonyi to be united at all times.
The President began the second leg of the 2011 dialogue with the People Tour with meetings in Pirang and Block in the West Coast region Monday. In both meetings, thousands of party militants and supporters thronged the meeting venues in a rare sort of support and solidarity. Although the euphoria and fanfare are a true reflection of the support and solidarity, they are nonetheless a prelude to the frank talk and words of wisdom the President might have in store. Convinced that the West Coast region provides an unshakable support base politically, canvassing for votes here is probably out of the equation. The President used the occasion to record his message for Gambians, particularly the youth, to demonstrate a more practical sense of patriotism and acquire the right skills and traits to spearhead his government's modernization drive. Professor Jammeh said the lack of the requisite skills and traits has turned many of our young people into consumers, effectively sacking their responsibilities to foreigners. The status quo is costly and jeopardizes the very future of this country, the President warned. He appealed passionately to the youth to be more illustrious and industrious and become, among other things, this country's traders, tailors, welders, carpenters, engineers, farmers. Some of these areas are dominated by foreigners. In Pirang, government and party officials thank the people of the region for the consistency in support over the years. The Minister of Fisheries, Water Resources and National Assembly Matters, Lamin Kababajo, announced plans to revitalize and revamp the Scan Gambia Streams project for the people of the village. Bajo also called for party unity and appealed to APRC members and supporters to rally behind any candidate selected by the party for elected positions. Differences over choice of candidates have, on a number of occasions, been a source of contention. In Block in the Fonyi Berefet district, the President called on the people of Ndamban and Somita, two feuding villages with a long history of mutual animosity, to resolve their problems and unite for the future of the region and that of their children. The President said he has great plans for the Fonyis in terms of development, but unity remains a crucial prerequisite. They gave them an ultimatum to resolve their differences, or else he will do it himself, and his options are several. Meanwhile, officials used the opportunity to announce 3 major projects for the Fonyi Barafet district: a major health center for Bullock, a senior secondary school for Somita, and a multi-purpose skills center for Ndemban. The Minister of the Interior, Usman Sonko, used the occasion to call on the people of Fonyi to desist from the cultivation of cannabis in the area. The minister challenged yard and compound owners to regularize the status of strangers and aliens residing in their homes and facilities. Kebadiva, Grts, with the President.
President Jammeh has received a message of gratitude from one Usman Mamake Bojang, a lecturer at the University of the Gambia, who writes to commend the Gambian leader for being the sole architect of the University of the Gambia. His message reads, "It is my greatest joy and happiness to present to you a copy of my Master of Arts degree thesis in African History at the University of the Gambia, entitled Background to the Making of Modern Gambia, from Boundary Demarcation to the Establishment of the Protectorate System 1988 to 1902. This research I and my colleagues engaged in has enabled us realize that no other pen more willingly than ours can write our own history without prejudice. No doubt a strength and determination to study African history premise on your ingenuity and inventiveness, and encouragement for us to use our potentials to its fullest. Therefore, sir, we are ready to exert ourselves in order to give in the same measure as we have received and are still receiving from your government. The establishment of the University of the Gambia has strengthened the Gambia and bridged the gap not only of intellectualism, but of physical, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual development of Gambians." The Vice President and Chairperson of the Disaster Governing Council has received a check for $100,000 from Trust Bank, donated to the National Disaster Management Agency at the State House. As Mamaji reports, the Vice President also received 15 bags of rice from members of the Operation No Back Way to Europe for onward transmission to the Jammeh Foundation for Peace.
The donation of $100,000 by Trust Bank Gambia Limited is in fulfillment of the financial institute's corporate social responsibilities. The General Manager, Trust Bank Gambia Limited, Oremi Jaina, lauded the efforts of the National Disaster Management Agency in managing disasters.
I want to say it's a big note of interest from us that we have followed with keen interest the transformation from assisting relief disasters to preventing the disaster. And on that note, I don't want to say much, but we, as partners in development, we also want to be socially responsible to some of our partners in development.
The Executive Director of the National Disaster Management Agency, Issa Khan, gave an insight into the establishment of the NDMA, which started as a small project and gradually expanded to an institution that is highly recognized both nationally and internationally. The NDMA, according to its boss, is transitioning from managing crisis to managing risk.
The emphasis is no longer on crisis management, but more importantly, the emphasis has shifted more towards disaster risk reduction. By managing the risks that are inherent in our communities and our society, by addressing the vulnerabilities of our communities, in that way we can be able to assist government significantly in support of their development aspirations, especially in support of the program for accelerated growth and employment, that is the PAGE.
The Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Dr. Aja Aissatou Saidi, thanked the Trust Bank Gambia Limited for the gesture. Dr. Njai Saidi assured government's continued support to provide the required policy environment for businesses to operate. The Vice President and Chairperson of the Disaster Governing Council argued that disasters are natural phenomena and therefore emphasized the need to prevent and manage them.
We hear about earthquakes more regularly than before, the tsunamis. So there are a host of disasters that are happening in our own part of the world.